The Appalachian Mountains are some of the oldest in the world, and we just happen to live in them. One thing we can tell you, there are ghosts in the mountains.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Ghosts in the Mountains. I am your host, Caleb Hanks, and holy shit, with me is the Dr. Captain Burgess. How are you, friend?
I am doing quite well tonight. How are you doing?
I'm feeling festive.
I am too.
If I were any more festive, I'd be draped in a garland.
That's fair. Well, happy holidays to you either way.
Happy holidays to you, my man. I'm excited to be in the holidays. I wish North Carolina were getting a little colder, but it is what it is.
You know, maybe in the future, when this episode comes out, we'll be there.
Hopefully so. I don't know what it is, but the older I got, I just like it when it's just terrifyingly frigid outside so I can be in the house warm and cozy.
Yeah, it's a nice backdrop for the season.
I also like it when it's very cold out and nobody wants to do anything. Because, like, over the past year, I feel like I've been active and, like, doing something every single weekend, like traveling and hanging out and doing paranormal stuff. And I'm like, I just want to lay in the house.
Yeah.
And just sleep.
Binge Christmas movies.
Oh, man. That sounds fantastic to me.
Right?
So, we're coming off the back of spooky season and then turkey season.
Ghosts. Yeah, ghosts and turkey season. And
Ghost turkeys.
No, I think we are due for another cryptid episode.
Yeah, I think that this is a potential cryptid, good folklore situation. It's been a minute since we dove into something kind of weird like this, but
for sure. And especially with the official Krampus Day, or Krampus Night, I should say, coming up on December 5th.
Oh, hell yeah.
Couple days away.
Man, well, I love basically all things Krampus related. I don't know as much as I'm about to know about Krampus. But that's right, everybody. We are talking about the famous goat devil himself, the Krampus. And there's all kinds of weird, like, cryptids and things from overseas that are just super interesting to me. Did you ever see the movie Troll Hunter?
No, I don't.
I think it's Norwegian. It's kind of like
No, I don't think I'd remember that.
It's like a found footage kind of deal.
Oh, no. That sounds pretty interesting.
It's super cool. Came out, I think, around 2009 or 10.
Okay.
And it's a fun watch. But the stuff like that, you know, the trolls, the fairies, all that sort of stuff is just, I don't know, it's very captivating. Have you seen the Krampus film?
Yeah, the 2015 one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
That's a great one.
I really liked it. It's comedic. It's charming at the same time. But, like, I feel like it kind of has, like, almost like Gremlin type vibes in a way.
Oh, yeah. You know, we're doing a movie podcast right now, but you know they're making Gremlins 3, right?
I did see that, yes.
Very excited about that. There is another Krampus-related film that I've seen that is really, really cool. It's called Rare Exports. You ever heard of this?
No, I haven't actually.
Dude, it's almost, I want to say, like Nolan-verse, like dark, gritty, realistic, weird horror, all Krampus related. Check that thing out. I think it might be subtitles. So
okay, yeah, I'll have to check that out because, like, it's interesting because Krampus, you know, is an international thing, has always been a big part of Yule theme folklore, but specifically over the past like 10 or so years, really with that 2015 Krampus movie you referenced, has he become kind of like a mainstream holiday figure. And from what I've found, that movie is kind of what kicked him into the spotlight for whatever you want to call it, American themed festive holiday traditions.
Yeah, I definitely did not know about Krampus when I was a kid. That was not something we were told about.
Yeah, right. And it's funny because, like, I didn't really know much about Krampus when that movie came out. I think that, was kind of my introduction to it. I probably did some Googling and looking into the folklore to get the gist of it. But I mean, to be honest, whenever that came out, that was probably my introduction to the general idea of Krampus.
Yeah, I definitely didn't hear about Krampus until I was like pretty well into my 20s, I think.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then I think it was like when I was old enough to go to bars and I was walking around Christmas time, I saw all these people dressed up as devils.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, honestly, kind of into this because I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like the Hallmark side of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love Christmas I liked Christmas when I was a kid, but when I got into being like a teenager and an adult, for some reason, there was like almost like a sappiness to Christmas that I was like just not really into. But as soon as I got into a stable relationship and met my now wife, dude, I was like, I'm taking Christmas back. I'm going to become a total dad about this. And now I'm just like, I don't know. I love it now, which is weird. I never kind of thought I'd get to that point. I also hated cold weather when I was a kid.
So super full circle for you.
Big time. No, that is the weird thing. Like I loved summer and hated winter, and now I hate summer because I just get so absurdly hot.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for fall and winter all year. So
same. Fall's my shit.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only problem with fall is it goes by too damn fast.
Right. You said it there. But yeah, I do think it's interesting that Krampus has really become, kind of like mainstream in a way. Like you see him on Christmas cards, you see, the Krampus bar crawls that you were referencing, stuff like that. It's really become a kind of counterculture way to celebrate the holidays, which is really cool because it's something that's existed for thousands of years. But, it wasn't till past 10 plus years or so that it really, really kind of took hold here in America. So
yeah.
Thought that was cool. Kind of similar to how like Bigfoot is now mainstream. He's selling 100%. Beef jerky. He's all over whatever commercials you see. Yeah, and it's interesting because there's some similarities with Krampus and Bigfoot. They're both big, hairy, bipedal creatures. So.
Yeah, except Krampus has got the old hooves.
Yeah, a little different. Not kind of quite the feet, but
yeah, Krampus is like legit the devil. Basically,
yeah, basically. I mean that's where a lot of the interpretations of the devil, and we'll get into that, kind of come from. But one of the first things I started looking into with this actually was the Bigfoot Sasquatch side of it, because you figure the cryptid community, specifically ones that are into sightings and stuff like that, if they hear of whether it be folklore or what, there might be some crossover. So I started to look into that, but unfortunately, all I found was a really, really bad movie on Tubi TV called Bigfoot versus Krampus. Have you seen this one?
No, but the crappier the better.
Oh no, this is honestly, you have to watch it. It's probably the worst movie I've ever seen.
Nice. Well, now I'm excited.
And for some reason, it took place in the future in space with like droids, like droids and clones straight out of Star Wars. And for some reason, it had Atlantean aliens that were just like green aliens, like the worst animated thing I've ever seen. It's hilarious for the first 5 minutes, and then the joke gets old, and there's still like an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I watch a lot of really bad movies because I'm a huge Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan.
That's probably the only way to do this one, but I'm not going to say I recommend it, but if you're really bored, Tubi's free, so it's there. And I guess it is kind of a Christmas movie, right?
Like Die Hard.
Yeah, exactly, in that regard. But yeah, like you said, there's a ton of Krampus movies that have come out, even on top of the two we just mentioned. I think there's the one you brought up, and then there's probably at least 6 others that I found when scrolling through that. So like, he really has taken over kind of the new whatever you're going to call it, spooky side of Christmas.
Yeah. Speaking of the spooky side of Christmas, there's a movie called Santa's Sleigh, and I'm pretty sure. You ever seen this one?
I've seen a trailer preview for it. It's fairly recent, right?
I think this one is maybe 15-ish years old or more.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
I'm pretty sure the wrestler Goldberg is like evil Santa in it, and he kills everybody. It's pretty dope.
Okay. No, this is not what I was thinking of then. Some people actually believe that Krampus was inspired, or the Grinch was inspired by Krampus.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So there's, it's kind of been something that's been slowly easing its way into mainstream society.
You know what's weird? I never saw The Grinch, but I found out something very strange the other day. There's a rock and roll singer named Taylor Momsen that sings with the Pretty Reckless.
Uh-huh.
Do you know who she is?
That sounds really, it's the girl that played Cindy Lou Who, right? Is that not her? Yeah.
I didn't know that was Cindy frickin' Lou Who.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It was as soon as you started saying this, I'm like, this is coming back to me. I've heard this before.
Yeah, she got bit by a bat on stage, and Ozzy, before he died, sent her a little plush bat.
Oh,
that's very sweet.
That is cute. That is funny. Do you watch Bob's Burgers at all?
I haven't seen that one.
Okay, they have one. It's like a 2-part Christmas special. called the Bleaken, but the creature's like directly inspired, like it is Krampus. And then like it kind of like is about some of the festivities. Like in this case, it's a rave, but just kind of shows that there's all these like different Krampus raves and Krampus bar crawls and all this stuff based around that creature or that character.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you mentioned it, I've seen a bunch of Krampus themed, whatever you want to call them, events, even around here in Asheville. There's a Krampus parade and a night market that takes place on Haywood Road the past couple of years. Not sure if you've seen that one before.
I don't know, but do you remember the Christmas bar that was over there in West Asheville?
Is that the one that was like kind of by the Golden Pineapple place, or is that a different one?
I think it's kind of near the Walk.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, like kind of diagonal to Fleetwoods.
Yeah, they used to have a Christmas drink that was like all cinnamony, but it had like liquor in it, but they served it in a Krampus, like in his head.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, in the mugs. And they were like, please don't steal these. They're really cool.
They're really expensive too, I bet.
Yeah, they were badass.
Yeah, well, apparently they do this thing where I guess they shut down part of Haywood Road and do what they call a Krampus parade, which is pretty much like a Krampus run. People dress up in the traditional suits and everything. And then they have like a little market at the end of it. So
is it like an actual like 5K or like a...
I don't think it's anything competitive. I think you just kind of like slowly... work your way down the street in a costume.
Can't be easy to sprint in hooves.
Yeah, right. And I looked it up, and I think Boone has actually been holding their own Krampus market as well. So while Krampus isn't, traditional Appalachian folklore from here in our backyard, it is lore that's still celebrated here in Western North Carolina. So I thought that makes it on brand and still pretty cool.
Dude, Boone is such a Christmassy town.
Oh, Boone is total. I mean, there's Christmas tree farms surrounding the entire town.
The elevation's much higher, so it's cold as hell over there all the time. I used to go up there in the wintertime, and it's just, dude, it just looks like Christmas up there all the freaking time.
It does,
in the winter.
yeah. Lived there for year and a half-ish.
Yeah.
Something time like that. But yeah, I did try to find any other Appalachian ties to Krampus, and all I could find was a book called Krampus, the Yule Lord, by someone who goes by just the name Brom.
The Yule Lord.
It's like Star Lord, but the Yule Lord. And his name is just Brom. So
all right.
I like it. The description is, set in Appalachia, Krampus, the Yule Lord, is a twisted fairy tale about a failed West Virginia songwriter who gets ensnared on Christmas Eve into an eternal war between a not-so-saintly Saint Nick and his dark enemy Krampus. So,
like we all haven't experienced that.
Yeah. I think that they just kind of take some elements of the Krampus lore and write their own spin on it and stick it in West Virginia. So,
all right. Nice.
Good on you, Brom. But, outside of that, the legend of Krampus really isn't rooted in Appalachia, but you could see how it's expanded and celebrated here over time eventually. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Even Appalachians like a good old-fashioned goat devil.
Right? But, the true origins of Krampus, like as we know him today, trace back to pre-Christian pagan traditions, kind of in the Alpine region of Europe, specifically in countries like Germany, Austria, and Croatia. So,
right, yeah.
So, as you can see, it's something that was very specific to European culture that has kind of eventually evolved into something that it is today.
Yeah, he seems like he would come from Austria.
Right. If he had a voice, I would imagine it to be in that accent.
That and guttural screams, 100%.
He's sometimes referred to as the Christmas devil. As I mentioned, he is covered in fur, stands on two hind legs. They're cloven hooves, reminiscent of, like you said, a goat or a demon. He has two menacing horns that sit on top of his head, and a long, forked red tongue that juts out of his mouth like a serpent. He's wrapped in chains, and he carries a sack, a basket, some type of device to carry things in that he fills with every naughty child that he could find.
Nice.
Yeah. So before we get really into this, I think to make this make sense in context, we got to go a little bit back and introduce St. Nicholas, like the real St. Nick.
Right, yeah, because he actually was a dude.
Yeah, because there's a little bit of misconception. Like Santa Claus has his own backstory, and that's been kind of blurred and bended and combined with somebody named Nicholas over time, who was.
And Tim Allen.
Right. That's... I'm not going to lie. I like that movie. That's kind of a classic for me.
I saw that shit in theaters.
Nice.
Back in the day.
I don't know if I saw it in theaters. I had a VHS tape of it, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's a fun movie.
It totally is. And it aged well. It held up.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. In the United States, the names St. Nick and Santa are kind of used interchangeably. But in Europe, that's not the case. They are two distinct, separate people. So Saint Nick is neither fat nor jolly nor born in the North Pole, but he's the real-life version of Saint Nicholas, who was a Greek-born bishop in the late 3rd century. He served in Myra, a small Roman town in what is now modern-day Turkey, and he was known for having a lot of wealth, but also being really generous with it, and he developed a reputation for helping people in need.
Good for him.
Yeah, so you can see where this character, the saint, got blurred in with the lines of another famous character that we know. But yeah, it goes on to describe some of his more charitable acts. I think the most famous story is how he helped a poor man with 3 daughters. Says, back in the 3rd century, without the money to arrange marriages, these girls would be able to, find a suitor, and therefore they were, according to the source material I had, doomed to a life of prostitution or slavery. So, times were pretty bad back then.
No doubt.
Legend has it that one night, Nicholas secretly dropped a bag of gold down the man's chimney into his house, where it landed, and wouldn't you know it, a stocking that had been hung by the fire to dry.
Because he was just, hanging out on the guy's roof.
Casually. Didn't want to leave it at the doorstep. That'd be too obvious.
As one does.
But yeah, either way, this served as the money needed to arrange a wedding for the oldest daughter. And then later, a second bag of gold came down the chimney, saving the middle daughter. And finally, the man was so determined to find out who'd given him the money that he hid by the chimney every evening waiting for that gold to come save his youngest daughter until he finally caught St. Nick himself. And St. Nicholas, wanting to be very humble about this, he begged the man not to reveal his identity, but word eventually got out, and anytime someone received a secret gift, they believed it was from the good bishop, St. Nick. Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of I wouldn't say like peeping Tom, but a bit of a creeper.
Yeah, there's definitely there's some weirdness going on. I mean,
I'm going to help your daughters get married.
Like, you could have knocked.
So, as you can imagine with stories like this, like many of the stories that were actually true about St. Nicholas and his good deeds, charitable acts, over time, they sort of get mixed with legend. So it's difficult to separate the fact from the fiction with a lot of this.
Not to mention, there was a lot of mental gymnastics of people trying to tie together why the hell he was hanging out on people's roofs. They're like, I don't know, he flies around. There's reindeer, it's a sled, it's a whole thing.
It had to come from somewhere. Maybe that's another one to add to the list to investigate.
Yeah.
But what was known is that he was actually a fierce defender of church doctrine during the Great Prosecution in the year 303, which sounds really weird to say, just a 3-digit number.
Yeah.
But this is when Bibles were being burned and priests were forced to renounce Christianity or face execution at this point. But St. Nicholas was really defiant, and he actually spent several years in prison before the Roman Emperor Constantine ended the Christian persecution in 113. God, it sounds so weird. It's just like I'm having to preempt myself to say these numbers.
I know what you mean.
Anyways, Nicholas earned fame for, his association, and he kind of got credited with several miracles over that period as well. Some of that blends with a little bit of the legend and folklore in that.
Right.
But, in his sainthood, he is kind of seen as a protector of many types of people, like orphans and sailors and prisoners. Like he's there to kind of look over the not as fortunate, is what it's kind of seen as. So today, St. Nicholas Day is celebrated in his honor on December 6th, which is the anniversary of his death in the mid-4th century. And on this day, children in Central Europe, out of tradition, hang stockings or put their shoes out, hoping for a gift from the generous saint himself. So you could obviously see where the Santa tradition gets tied into some elements from St. Nick and St. Nicholas Day itself.
Sure. I know a kind of weird Santa Claus thing that kind of ties him to Bigfoot, which is weird.
Yeah?
You ever seen a little film called Rise of the Guardians? It's like an animated thing.
Oh, I really wanted to see that. It's got like the Easter Bunny and yeah, I've not seen that, but I've been curious for years.
That's a cool film. All of Santa Claus' henchmen in that movie are Yetis.
Okay.
It's super cool.
That is cool.
And he's like Russian and like tatted up. It's
I've seen a preview of it. Yeah.
It's like a badass version of
it. I really need to watch that.
Yeah, super cool.
So you might be wondering how Krampus kind of fits back into all this, but actually, in Central European tradition, St. Nicholas is traditionally accompanied by a bit of a mischievous partner. So while St. Nicholas bestows gifts to the well-behaved children, his companion is known to kind of dole out punishment for those who were naughty. In southern Germany and Austria, St. Nicholas's counterpart is known as Krampus.
Damn it, I thought you were going to say the Hamburglar.
Some cultures potentially, but not over in Austria.
Yeah, it's the Christmas Hamburglar. You guys don't celebrate him?
That would very much be an American tradition, bro.
Oh, yeah.
So much like Santa's naughty list, Krampus travels from home to home of misbehaved children around the world, but unlike Santa, he does this on the night of December 5th, which is also known as Krampus night. So Krampus is known for carrying birch sticks, which he uses to beat naughty children as he tries to kidnap them.
Man, he might have learned that one from my mom.
Or she learned it.
Or maybe my mom is Krampus.
Well, that is apparently what he uses to kind of rough up the children, because unlike Santa, he scoops up the naughty children, stuffs them into his backpack, sack, basket, whatever he has, and carries them back to his mountain lair. Some versions say to hell itself. There's kind of split opinions on this. Some say that the children are forced to live there for a year with him to kind of learn a lesson, but I think the most true to tradition tales say that he just kills them and eats them.
Dope.
Yeah.
I knew I liked Krampus.
So, I mean, you could imagine pretty terrifying if you're a kid growing up in this culture, and instead of being told things about Santa Claus at age 4 and 5, you're being told that, oh yeah, you better behave or this goat thing's going to come kidnap and eat you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the boogeyman for little shitheads.
Yeah, exactly.
I never realized that. I guess maybe I just hadn't thought about Krampus too much, but it's kind of interesting how it's like, I'm going to have to deal with my in-laws. I'm going to have to deal with crazy children running all over the place. They're hyped up, eating a bunch of sugar. I'm going to tell them that a goat devil's going to come murder them and eat them. And that's how I get them to behave.
Might have solved it. Who knows?
You also got to do what you got to do as a parent.
Right. So yeah, the kind of the thought of this is by St. Nicholas Day, which is the following day after Krampus night, all the naughty children of the world are gone. So St. Nick is free to just bring gifts to the rest of the good boys and girls because, well, it's only good children left at that point.
Right.
So that's kind of the thought behind that.
The yin and yang of Christmas.
Exactly. That's actually a common comparison between the two.
Yeah. That's interesting. I was watching, have you seen the movie Glass with Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah. The M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like, I watched it last night, oddly enough. And I mean, like, that's one of the big themes is like where there is good, the opposite must exist.
Yeah, the counterbalance.
Yeah. That's fun.
That was a fun trilogy too. I don't know if you ever saw.
I don't want to give away anything, but you ain't kidding.
Yeah.
Great trilogy.
Yeah. Not all his movies are like a thumbs up, but I enjoyed those.
Oh, dude. I think those are some of his best work.
For sure. Yeah. I guess the name Krampus, interesting fact here, is actually derived from an old German word, Krampen, which means claw. So kind of self-explanatory on that, you know. Kind of fits into his appearance and image. And, this is kind of where it gets into the roots of it. Some sources say that the Krampus tradition was part of pagan rituals related to winter solstice. And then there's some other school of thoughts here. Some believe that he was the son of hell from Norse mythology, who's kind of like the ruler of the realm of the dead there. But there's really no direct historical or mythological connection between the name Krampus and any specific Norse god. I think this is just them kind of alluding to some of the borrowed features that he has from this Norse entity, I would assume.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, Krampus is also described as this anthropomorphic figure, like half goat, half man. So he shares a lot of characteristics with creatures from Greek mythology known as satyrs. In fact, the god Pan himself was depicted as a satyr, half goat, half man. He's got the hooves, horns on his head and everything. And, we've talked about in past episodes that Pan was kind of seen as this trickster type entity. But past that, I think the similarities to Krampus kind of fade off. He's got the look, but that's pretty much it. Nothing in Krampus lore connects him directly to Pan or any like satyr itself from Greek mythology. Just kind of an interesting connection in their appearance.
Did you know that my dad is a satyr?
His band, right? The Satyrs.
Yep, the
like
Satyrs.
the surf rock band, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
Back in the day. You know, I'm starting to realize I might actually be the hellspawn of two goat devils. My dad was a satyr, and my mom might have been Krampus with the damn birch branches. Holy shit, dude! I might be full demon. That's badass.
I did pull the devil the other night.
Oh, I did. That's awesome. I am a demon. Sweet.
Yeah, I remember the first time you told me your dad played in a band called the Satyrs. I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah,
what a
some
cool
esoteric
name.
shit,
Yeah,
dude.
for sure. But yeah, as you can imagine, when you're kind of getting into a lot of the inspirations of Krampus, like, you know, there's not a lot to really go off of other than he was kind of an entity from pagan tradition. You can't really trace back the exact origin point of where that is, just that he's thought to be associated with the winter solstice. And, you know, of course, as Christianity starts to take its foothold in Europe, many of these pagan customs and characters, like including Krampus himself, were kind of taken into Christian traditions. So throughout history, the Catholic Church and, you know, more conservative Christian parties have actually kind of made attempts to banish celebrations of Krampus himself because they've assimilated so much of Krampus's image that was from pagan tradition with the image of the devil himself.
Yeah. And I guess what was also adopted into like satanic symbolism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like there's some early postcards like from, I can't remember exactly what years in Austria that depict Saint Nick and Krampus side by side. And you look at Krampus and it's just the exact depiction you would assume of the devil from Christianity.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Are they like hanging out? Are they like buds?
they're just chilling. Yeah. Cause like you said, the yin and the yang, right? So
like, hey, you know, I know we're complete opposites, but that doesn't mean that we can't sit down and have an eggnog every once in a while.
well, you know, when you go back to like the true tradition of Krampus and Saint Nick, that, you know, I wouldn't say complete opposites because it's kind of the same goal at the end of the day is making kids behave. You know,
Yeah.
One of them goes about it through positive reinforcement and the other just eats them. So
If we're talking about all kinds of different folklore, this is kind of tying into some comic book stuff in my mind because it's like, all right, Batman, the Joker kills all these people, but you won't kill him. And so you keep throwing him in jail. And then the Joker keeps getting out and he keeps killing more people. But Batman won't kill the Joker because he doesn't want to kill anybody.
yeah.
So in that line of thinking, I don't know that Batman's actually right. And that's fine if anybody wants to say that I'm full of crap because you probably know more about Batman than I do at this point. But I kind of feel like it's saying that Krampus is actually the one that gets stuff done. Santa's like, I'll get you a new bike. And that's cool and all. But Krampus is like, if you don't behave, I'm going to eat you.
And that's the real motivating factor there.
I think his method's better.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm being honest, putting myself in the perspective of a 4 or 5-year-old learning this for the first time, the Santa method versus the Krampus method, I think the Krampus method's a little more effective, would have been more effective.
100%.
Especially you're getting kids at this impressionable age. Like, especially talked about kids are a little bit more just perceptive to weird things anyway. So like when you implant an idea like that in their head at a young age, who knows? Maybe you change the trajectory of some things.
I have a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
When me and Micah were little and our mom wanted us to stop running around the house and being little bastards and actually go to bed, you know what she used to tell us?
What's that?
She said, if you don't get in the bed, there's a Bigfoot with bed springs on his feet and he jumps up into the window and looks at you at night. And she's like, if you don't turn those lights out and you don't get under those damn covers, you're going to see that Bigfoot looking in there trying to get you. She actually told us that.
Man.
And look at how we turned out.
Y'all were destined for this life.
Yeah, we were also potentially traumatized by actual Krampus into this line of work.
Valid. Oh, that's pretty funny.
She's got a very wild imagination.
See where you get it from.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess during this period where the church had basically forbidden people to celebrate the entity or the character of Krampus, like they were forbidden to dress up as him, you know, was seen as masquerading as the devil. And in some areas, churches would even punish this by death. So you talk about wanting to set an example. They're kind of going on the other end of this and being like,
are you any better than the Krampus at this point?
Right. You got a valid point. But, despite these efforts, the spirit of Krampus proved too resilient to be entirely extinguished. So while his presence may have waned out in certain areas, the legend really lived on in certain areas of the world, specifically some of these central Alpine European areas that we talked about. So today, as the Krampus tradition kind of experiences this resurgence, I think it really stands as a testament to just the enduring power of folklore itself and the ability of these communities to reclaim something that was really unique and cultural to them. Even something that had kind of been viewed as evil in a way by the church has kind of come full circle and come back to honor old world traditions. I think that's really cool.
Oh, it's super cool. And I don't know if it's just my Bavarian roots coming through, because my mom's side of the family, they all immigrated before World War II.
Oh, cool.
And when I think about, just the landscape over there and just the trees and the black forest, that sort of stuff, and thinking about Krampus's ass stomping through there.
Yeah, right.
I love it, dude.
It is perfect imagery. And, like we said, we wanted to bring the spooky side of the holiday season. I think Krampus is really the perfect way to set that off. Just thinking of that imagery is kind of what I envision the backdrop of spooky Christmas being.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Sorry, Tim Burton, not to dish you there, but
yeah, Tim Burton did it pretty well, but yeah, I don't know.
Krampus sets the stage.
It'd be pretty dope to see a Nightmare Before Christmas style Krampus movie.
Ooh, just a Tim Burton does Krampus.
That'd be pretty dope. Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
What you doing?
Right. Kind of speaking of that and just modern media, we talked about the Krampus movie of 2015 being what kind of brought that to modern day sphere. I think social media platforms had a lot to do with that too, especially as you kind of start to have Krampus bar crawls and Krampus parades and all these things that would catch the attention. It obviously makes for eye-catching, or it's not eye-catching enough on the street, so it's going to make eye-catching content. You start seeing stuff like that shared, and I think curiosity kind of takes over and has really spread to a lot of awareness for Krampus in modern day.
Yeah, man. Some of the Krampus masks that they make and the Krampus suits that are actually overseas when they have the
festival, the con.
Dude, those things are amazing. They're some of the coolest damn costumes. I've seen some that are wood carved that are just super badass.
Yeah,
man.
I was looking at a book that had a lot of stuff on some of those Krampus conventions. It's someone that's made this full suit. It almost looks like a White Walker out of Game of Thrones.
Oh, dope. Yeah.
That style, beard, but still with the Krampus horn features and stuff. It looked pretty terrifying.
I was watching a video on PBS about Krampus, and they referred to him as Krampus, which I think is the more traditional way.
I guess so. I'm just not going to do that.
I'm not either. The word Krampus is too funny.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, well, Krampus, he's the patron saint of going swimming before letting your food settle.
There, and you found it.
I found it.
Oh, that's a good one. I was trying to find if West Asheville's kind of announced the details for their Krampus Parade market event this year, but I would imagine by the time this episode's out, they will have that released. Hopefully they have it this year, and hopefully I'll be there.
Nice. Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah, for sure. I guess in modern times, Krampus has kind of become this symbol of just embracing the shadowy aspects of human experience, which is it's kind of just, that background reminder, that cautionary tale to, maybe not so much always be on your best behavior, but just always out of the kindness of your heart. Something kind of like that. That's not so much based in those sugar plum and fairies and some of the more sentimental stuff a lot of Christmas characters and tales are.
Right. Yeah.
I think that, there's a lot of the spooky looking parades and elaborate costumes and stuff that looks kind of dark in a way.
Evil.
And I guess for children, maybe that's the point. Maybe they need that character to be just genuinely terrifying so it can continue to kind of live up to tradition and keep those damn kids in line.
Yeah. I
don't know.
They picked some pretty classic imagery for Krampus, I will say.
Yeah, no joke.
I don't know what the first, I don't know what the first depiction of a goat devil
Yeah,
thing
I mean,
is?
I think that's got to trace back to Greek mythology with the satyr.
I assume so, because
Yeah.
I mean, I don't personally know of an example of like a goat devil before Ricardo Montalban from is it Jason and the Argonauts? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Where he plays the satyr?
Is it
Or is that
Clash of the Titans?
I think it is Clash of the
I
Titans.
think they're very similar stylistically, but
Yeah.
I think it is Clash of the Titans that has the satyr.
He gets his hand cut off and he puts that garden tool on for a hand.
What a classic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the goat is just synonymous with devils because of the horns.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, I don't think a satyr was necessarily a devil itself.
It was
just
like a woodland imp.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think Pan himself was like the ghost of the god of the wild nature or something like that. So it's
Mr. Is it Mr. Tumnus?
Yeah, Mr. Tumnus.
Yeah, he's a satyr too.
He is. He totally is. That's probably one of the more famous satyr references. If you're not familiar with what we mean when we're talking about satyrs.
Yeah. Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, Mr. Tumnus. Yes. Google his ass. Or just Google satyr.
Yeah, that might save you some time.
No, I'm gonna find Mr. Tumnus. We're gonna have Turkish delight. It's gonna be great.
Right. So I knew this part was going to be a bit of a long shot, but I did, want to at least poke at some corners, leave no stone unturned, and do some digging to see if,
real Krampus?
Yeah, if I can find any legit real Krampus experiences or witnesses or interactions.
I'm not optimistic, but let's go. Let's go for it.
Yeah, this is one you're going to have to take with a grain of salt. But the more I looked into traditions and, people that are from Germany and Austria that kind of give their experiences and tell their views on it, it seems like Krampus himself is something that still genuinely terrifies these people to this day. And they're full-grown adults. It's not like this is still some teenager or someone in their adolescence kind of giving their ideas on this. These are full-grown adults trying to describe how the figure of Krampus is viewed to them, and it still seems like it's something out of nightmares. So it's something that's left its impression. And, that's, I guess kind of shows how they were being raised, that, being told something like this at this very young age makes kind of a lasting impact.
Yeah, I think it just depends on how good of a storyteller your parents are.
Fair enough.
Because it's like, if they're like really theatric with it, it's like, I think that'd mess me up if I were a kid.
Yeah, you catch them when the imagination's still very ripe.
I mean, you're telling them there's a fat guy that flies around and drops presents down their chimney, and they're buying that. They're going to buy that there's a goat devil that's going to eat their ass.
Valid. So yeah, I did. I listened to a few podcast episodes. There's one that claimed to be retellings of real experiences with Krampus, but those all sounded just really hard to believe for me. No offense to anyone who submitted or was part of that, but I didn't feel that any of those were convincing enough to warrant sharing here. But I did also listen to an episode of a podcast from the folks over at Believing in the Bizarre. Not sure if you've listened to their stuff before.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
They did a Krampus episode too, and they actually bring up a really interesting idea and something we've toyed around with here. But they bring up the idea of a potential tulpa tied to the idea of Krampus.
I almost brought that up. I know I talk about tulpas a lot.
Yeah,
but I mean,
they could answer a lot of questions if they happen to be a proven concept.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a pretty interesting idea because you talk about things that are so enshrined, it kind of engraved in people at a young age, something that obviously emotionally impacts them as an adult, whether real or not. They've had this terrifying image in a way shaping their behavior their whole life. So in a way, thinking of the Krampus itself as a thought projection isn't like the craziest concept to me.
No, and I think also when you look into like the deep psychological thing of, any kind of boogeyman, whether that's like, the Krampus being like representative in your mind of, I don't know, even like a serial killer or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Did you think that Santa Claus was real growing up when you were a kid?
I honestly did, but I think it was one of those things that I was just so into kind of like the fantasy world that like, I just wanted something wild like Santa Claus to be true. So I'm like, hell yeah, I'll believe in that. So it's like, I love magic. I love like, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Very, very high fantasy stuff. So it's like, sure, you're going to tell me that there's this flying fat guy that brings me presents. Hell yeah, I'll play along.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, the universe is like, well, Austin, sorry.
Right.
Bubble burst,
Right.
Santa isn't real. But aliens? Them sons of bitches are everywhere. My parents never told the bro and I that Santa was real, so we never...
Oh, so that was like never introduced to you guys at a...
We knew about Santa.
Yeah,
but
but
they were like, he's not real.
Okay.
Some people's parents tell them that he's real, and they were like, if some kid tells you that Santa's real, don't ruin it for him.
Yeah, okay. That's a very mature way to trust kids with that, I would say.
Yeah, so I went right to school, and I was like, yeah.
Of course. Of course.
Not really. No, it's been the shittiest thing ever, but that's pretty funny.
Oh, for sure.
Sorry.
You're good. It's a funny idea.
I love the idea of just me being the most horrible child.
That's honestly, that's a Christmas special right there.
Yeah, dude,
like,
hell yeah. And then he thought, well, it's got to be, this has to exist where there's some kid and he's a total shit, but then he finds out Santa actually is real.
this feels like a familiar plot line. I've
Yeah.
seen this movie
Is
at
this
least
like
once.
Problem Child 5?
Maybe so. If not, God, if that Bigfoot versus Krampus movie made it through, I think we could make something.
Dude, I need to start writing Hallmark movies.
Anyways, I did find a few posts on Reddit about alleged real Krampus encounters. And again, take these with a grain of salt, especially since this one comes from the No Sleep Reddit, which, we've kind of found to be a place of, self-submitted fan fiction or creepypasta for the most part. But, I thought it was well written enough to at least share because it kind of gets the whole concept of the story itself. So I figured, why not? And it starts like this. My real encounter with Krampus as a young boy. Growing up, I never heard anything about evil when it came to Christmas. My parents always took me to see Santa every year, and I never got coal in my stocking. I believed in Santa up until about age 9. So every year I always acted and, super good in the months leading up to Christmas. As a kid, you want to get as many Christmas presents as possible, and I still remember the excitement I would get every year. That same year, my parents worked a lot of late nights, so they would always leave me with my older sister, who was 16 at the time. I never really got along with her until now, as we're adults and we don't live with each other. My sister was especially mean to me that year, even inviting her boyfriends over on some nights. Don't know why that was mean, but part of the story.
Right.
I would threaten to tell mom if she ever brought him over again. And my sister would make all these other ridiculous threats. And the fact that I would tell Santa to put coal in her stocking because she wasn't following all the rules is what this author said he would tell his parents. One day she had enough of my bickering and retaliated. She started with, what's even worse than getting coal in your stocking? Of course, me being a little curious boy, I pressed for information. So I would say, what's worse? And she said, Krampus. I remember the nerve it struck when she said that name. Of course, I did not know who or what Krampus was, but it just sounded bad. What's Krampus? I probed. I can still see her evil grin ingrained in my memory when she told me. Santa isn't real, right? God, we really set this one up, didn't we?
Wow, yeah.
I always had a sneaking suspicion, but of course I asked, what do you mean? Don't pretend you don't know. Mom and Dad buy all your gifts, and the guy you go see at the mall, they call Santa, is just a man in a beard doing a job. I wasn't really surprised. This confirmed my skepticism of Santa. But you know what is real, she continued? Krampus, the evil spirit that comes and takes little boys like you to the underworld. Now, my impressionable mind believed every word she said, and I was terrified. He comes to take little boys that tattle. All you need to do is tattle 3 times during the Christmas season, and Krampus, the Christmas demon, comes and gets you. Her twisted little mind even brought up 2 other times I snitched on her for something stupid within the past week. This alone had me freaked out. Because 1 week later, I tattled on her for eating my Pop-Tart off my plate. After I tattled, I thought about what I did and what she had told me the week before. The true legend states that Krampus comes to punish children who misbehave, so my sister had twisted the story in her favor. But anyways, here's where things got weird. This was the same year I realized I was attracted to women. I was in my parents' room one night, and they were gone, and I was looking for batteries for my RC car and went snooping through the drawers. Lo and behold, I found my dad's Playboy stash. I looked through that thing for a good half hour before putting it back. This was a busy Christmas season. The same year I realized that Santa was not real was the same year that I discovered women. At that point, nothing had happened with Krampus, so I chalked that story up to my sister just trying to scare me. But I think looking at this magazine was a big mistake, and to this day, it was the reason why I got the visit. It was that same night. If I'm not mistaken, Christmas was just a few days away. I woke up in the middle of the night, extremely thirsty. The house was pitch black, except for an overhanging microwave light in the kitchen. I got water, then headed back to my room. It was that moment when I heard a noise on the roof. I remember thinking and somewhat second-guessing myself about Santa being real or not. I whispered to myself, "Santa?" I walked towards the window and saw what I thought was a deer outside the window. I thought maybe the noise came from the deck and not the roof. Maybe the deer had just walked over to the deck and jumped into the yard. But the closer I got, I realized I might not be looking at a deer. It turned around, revealing its large body and glowing red eyes. The antlers were not antlers, but horns. I remember thinking that it looked like the beast from Beauty and the Beast. I was frozen in fear as I saw the creature start walking towards me. We locked gazes, then he smiled with razor-sharp teeth. Then he jumped straight up and out of sight, like he jumped straight into the sky and into the thin air. I immediately ran into my sister's room, shook her awake in a state of fear, explaining that I had just seen Krampus. It was then, with her groggy tiredness, she basically admitted to me that she'd made it all up. She got up and walked me back to my room. She flipped on the light switch and gave me a shocked look. I looked back at her. What the hell is this? She leaned towards my bed and picked up a magazine. It was the Playboy magazine. I was shocked. I did not know what to say. I mean, I was just baffled. And all I managed to spew was, "That's Dad's." "Of course that's Dad's, you freak," she replied. I tried to convince her that I didn't know how it got there, but she didn't believe a word that I said. Then she just stopped me. "If I catch you with this again, I'm going straight to Mom and Dad." I just looked down and agreed. Luckily, my sister was cool with it. To this day, I've never figured out how that magazine got in there or what that creature was that I saw outside. All I could say is it's very possible I saw the real Krampus that night, and I was being warned for misbehaving. My sister and I have never spoken again about that night, and honestly, I'm afraid to bring it up. Hopefully, I'll never have another encounter with Krampus.
That's some weird fanfic.
Yeah, a little bit.
However, there is a kind of interesting, like, actual somewhat historical tie-in there.
What's that?
There's an association with Krampus and scantily clad ladies.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, in some of the depictions of Krampus, for some reason, he's like hanging out with women in bathing suits and stuff. So it's like, I don't know what that's all about.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how much, if any, part of this story is true.
No.
But, I think it was at least a kind of fun, dramatic version of the Krampus experience.
Yeah.
Tried to be put into a first-person view.
Kind of a strange, meandering tale is like,
and then the Playboy came in.
And then I found out I liked chicks.
Yeah.
Just because you have these thoughts doesn't mean you have to write them down.
Well, the post had since been deleted, but luckily it was archived. So I was able to reclaim that, but I don't have the author name, and maybe that's for good reason.
Like, I have to delete that. That's the shittiest story I've ever written. They must not know my origins.
And believe it or not, that was probably the best Krampus tale I could find on any Reddit thread.
That's depressing.
I know, yeah.
Now it makes me want to write something.
I did find a few other ones, kind of relating to real Krampus encounters. There's one, Angela by the Moon. She also made a post on Reddit a couple years ago, kind of in our same shoes here. She was looking to do her own podcast episode and trying to find anyone that's had a quote-unquote real-life encounter with Krampus or any sort of experience they could claim. Now, there wasn't like a ton of response on this, and a lot of it was pretty sarcastic, but there were a few that I felt were relevant enough to share. One response claimed, "As a pagan, I'd love to believe he's real in some way. like we believe in gods, goddesses, etc. But no, I've not had any encounters here. I might leave him an offering on December 5th, though. And Angela responded back saying, in that case, you could understand this part of the phenomena. I found several spells, magical workings that work to call upon entities such as Krampus. So I believe he's very real, maybe in other ways as well. So I did think that's kind of just an interesting concept. If you talk about Krampus coming from pagan tradition and there being just a lot of belief tied to a lot of that. So it's like, it's one of those things, kind of what I talked about with Santa Claus. Like, you just want something fun to believe in a way. So it's kind of like, I really hope that he's real, so I'm going to choose to believe in him, but no, I don't know for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. One question. What's she going to leave him as an offering? A child?
I mean, that seems to be his thing.
That's his, that's like, it's the same thing as the guy that orders the number 5 every time he goes to a restaurant.
Right. There was another response here, and I like this one that says, Krampus has shown up vaguely in my dreams from time to time. Nothing definite. It may have been me just wishing for it and bringing it into being, but we do decorate and leave offerings hoping for the best. So I have to say no to a true encounter yet. And again, Angela kind of responded, and she says, but dreams are as true of encounters as any kind. Dreams are very important and powerful in the spirit realm. I found spells where magicians and witches, all manner of pagans, collect with a very real spiritual entity. Dreams are a major way that spirits speak to us. When a spell is cast, it is cast in the spirit realm to come back and manifest into the physical world. And that's also how dreams work. So, it's clear Angela has some views that are really rooted in like pagan spiritualism. But I really just kind of like her overall message, taking some of the woo-ness out of that, if you take it down to its core. And, in a way, are dreams like that much different than the thought projection of a tulpa that we're talking about? It's a thought projection in your mind that you're somehow bringing into some form of reality, be it mental. It's still something that you kind of create a reality out of. So in a way, I think that's a fun concept to think about.
I think you got to be a little wary of like Krampus dreams, because it's like, well, which Krampus is it? Is it like sleep paralysis demon Krampus, or is it like, well, Krampus was kind of hot? Are we talking like Beauty and the Beast, sexy Krampus? What's going on here?
They didn't really specify, but I don't know if that's really, really central to the takeaway here, but
yeah, I was talking to my therapist about all these sexy Krampus dreams I've been having.
Yeah, maybe y'all should discuss that a little further.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a sexy Krampus dream.
I don't know if I've ever had a Krampus dream.
Yeah, well, the night is young.
Yeah, project it now. My own form of a tulpa.
Don't come be interested in me and my dreams, sexy Krampus.
Please let me know if you have a sexy Krampus dream tonight.
God damn it. I hope it doesn't happen.
Maybe it only happens on Krampus night.
Ooh, yeah. There's an experiment. Just try to fill your head with as much Krampus stuff as you possibly can. Cram the Krampus.
There you go.
All right.
I think that's about all I have to say on that one. I don't know from anything that I found if I really believe in Krampus from a historical scientific standpoint. But from that same part of me that wants to believe in Santa Claus, I'm going to choose to believe in Krampus. And judge me for that if you will.
Oh, no. I mean, when we've talked about all of the weird stuff that we've talked about on, all the spooky season stuff and all the hauntings and all this, there's obviously, as far as I'm concerned, something going on that we don't understand. So why take pagan deities off the table?
Yeah, right. If we're going to leave the Dillsborough vampire out there, then we got to leave Krampus on.
Yeah, there are some good Krampus films out there. There's some interesting Krampus media. But one thing that I've been thinking about, this will make sense in a second, about the dawn of AI, is ever since I started seeing some of the video that AI would be making, I was like, ooh, this shit's getting pretty good. Now, when are they going to make a movie?
Oh, I'm pretty sure that Krampus Bigfoot movie was all AI.
Nice. Well,
you tell me. You be the judge.
I'll let you know. But I was thinking, what I've always wanted to see from an AI movie is like tell the AI, make another Ninja Turtles movie, but make it look like it was made the year that the original Ninja Turtles movie was made, but put Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady and all the classic characters in there, put the Technodrome, the whole thing, and just make it just look 80s effects as hell, but cool. But I think in the future, dude, there are going to be anything you could think of movies that are made, and one that I want to see is Ash from Evil Dead versus Krampus, but he teams up with Ernest P. Worrell from Ernest Saves Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, pitch this to the studio that made that Bigfoot thing, and I think they're sold.
And if you do it, I'll come play Ernest. I'll be Ernest.
I think AI might have that job covered, but if the offer's on the table.
I'll voice him.
There you go.
Although it'll probably do that better. But here's a line from Ernest Scared Stupid. This is my audition. How about a bumper sandwich, booger lips?
Oh, damn, you're spot on.
Thank you. All right. And with that, we're going to stop talking because you're like, these guys are insane. They've been sitting here talking about a goat devil for an hour and Playboys and finding their sexuality and sexy Krampus dreams. I'm stopping listening. We just lost like 17 subscribers.
Well, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Our gift to you is, honestly, the gift of being able to look into cool-ass magical folklore. You know, I've really enjoyed listening to anything about Krampus that I didn't already know, because I just think that as a character, as an entity, as a potential realistic deity, he's just freaking terrifying and awesome.
Yeah.
And I love him.
And, he has a higher purpose in society of, maybe instilling some morals in people at a young age.
Yeah. And if you let your children listen to this podcast, well, here's a message to them. Behave, or Krampus will literally eat you. And you don't want that. Can't ride your new shiny bike if you're eating and slowly digesting for thousands of years in Krampus's horrifically acidic, almost volcanic stomach.
Happy Krampus night, kids.
Happy Krampus night, kids. And on that note, I just want to say to everybody, we hope everyone is having a wonderful, majestic holiday season. I find Christmas to be one of the coziest times of year, but that doesn't mean that it can't be a little spooky. One night I was hanging out with Joshua P. Warren and I fell directly on my face. And when I woke up, I didn't pass out, but when I came to and realized that I was bleeding everywhere, I had this vision in my head that was Christmas time, but there were all these UFOs flying around in the sky. And I was like, dang, Christmas with aliens? I've never thought of that. That's super cool. And it made me like Christmas more. And I don't know why.
There is a Christmas alien movie too. Maybe you had some subconscious.
Yeah, it's called Feeders 2.
Oh.
And dude, you want to talk about bad movies that are so bad they're amazing?
Okay.
Oh,
keep that in mind.
We should really watch it sometime. One of the best Christmas movies I've ever seen. That said, go watch Feeders 2. Go leave an offering for Krampus that may or may not be your children. We love you guys so much. If you want to figure out what else we're doing and the weird, wonderful, wacky things we're going to talk about, well, they're all coming. Also, we may have done a paranormal investigation recently, and maybe you're going to find out all about it.
More to come.
I'm just going to say it involved Patrick Swayze. But that said, you can go to ghostsinthemountains.com to find out more about what we're doing. You can subscribe to us on Patreon for an ad-free version of the podcast and some other little behind-the-scenes goodies. And with all that said, thank you all a million times for listening to our podcast. And we will catch you on the next episode of Ghosts in the Mountains. Have a good night and stay spooky, everybody. So, Austin.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that Krampus had nothing to do with when you found out you liked girls.
I couldn't find a correlation there, but
I'm searching my psyche to find out that if Krampus was somehow the catalyst for me liking women.
I think there's just something deeper to be said about the author's sexuality if the goat demon kind of kicked that off for them. Who knows?
Kink unlocked. All right.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. This is a weird one. Have a good evening. Love you. Bye.